The television news in Britain is universally awful. I mean, it's awful in America too, but for different reasons. Fox, CNN, and MSNBC are all like cartoon networks. But at least viewers get a choice. In the UK, every single outlet sings from the same soft left, pro-woke, identity politics song sheet. They all trot out the same identikit opinions on COVID, Trump, Brexit, climate change, Israel, diversity, education, immigration, and everything else. And they just don't understand that it isn't even their job to give their opinion at all. The news exists to tell us what's happened, and we'll then decide for ourselves what to think about it. But no. UK news, which insists on talking down to us like we're 5-year-olds, never stops telling us what to think, what opinions we should have on events. And they all think exactly the same thing about every subject under the sun. Now, while they're all completely awful, the worst offender by far is Channel 4 News. Globally, that show is most famous for the car crash interview between Cathy Newman and Jordan Peterson. Newman had no interest in allowing Peterson to air his views. She was determined to trap him, to bully him, to put words in his mouth, to tell us what he really means. She just failed spectacularly. Newman was like an aggressive but inept boxer, trying to hound her opponent against the ropes, while Peterson continually speared her with elegant jabs like a peak Floyd Mayweather. That singular interview was a textbook example of how Channel 4 News continually seeks to shape and curate the news, to drive home its narrative, to brainwash its viewers in its warped worldview. And that worldview is extremely alarming. I try my best to avoid Channel 4 News, but I accidentally caught a few minutes of it recently, on the subject of Afghanistan. And it was little more than thinly veiled anti-American and pro-Taliban propaganda. I tried to upload the clip, but YouTube blocked it, so I put it on Rumble. And I tried to post a link, but YouTube blocked that too. Good old Google. Anyway, I'll just read the script verbatim. The segment starts off by eulogising how the Taliban have learned to be patient, and it films them as they wait for one of their leaders. For 20 years they've waited for the enemy to give up and go. Now they're feeling stronger than ever. Patience has reaped its reward. The presenter goes on to say that the official Taliban line is that Afghanistan played no role in the attack on the Twin Towers, but they see themselves as the victims of the ensuing global war on terror. And now, the victors. A Taliban leader is given the microphone to proclaim that the people have come to welcome our leaders. They are common people, and they're happy. They have security. There is peace in 99% of the land. The new system has been established. There's no problem. It's notable, though, that he's surrounded by men with machine guns, that the common people seem to all be Taliban fighters, and that no women are visible anywhere in the entire report. They're not allowed outside, not even while wearing a burqa. So much for the new liberty. Lindsay Hilsum, the Channel 4 correspondent, then reports while on the road to Wardak, west of Kabul. She says now they're in charge, the Taliban no longer attack passing traffic, and they're free to move wherever and however they choose. Except for women, obviously. Hilsum boasts that we could never have come here a month ago. It would have been much too dangerous because of the possibility of roadside bombs or kidnap. One of the ironies of this situation is now that the Americans have gone and the Taliban are in charge, it's much safer. After rubbing in American failure, Hilsum talks to a family whose home was raided by the American military. Hilsum says that night raids in villages like this did not win Afghan hearts and minds. This is the story of just one Afghan family. But there are hundreds of thousands like this. Yes, they had a son in the Taliban, and for that reason their family home was raided and partially destroyed. That's why they're happy to see the back of the Americans, and they welcome Taliban rule and what they hope will be an end to war. Hilsum looks ecstatic about this. But of course, she didn't canvass any women for their opinions on Taliban rule. And while she crowed about the return of Afghan freedom, she ignores the end of freedom for all Afghan women. She even calls the spoils of war, an old Soviet machine gun purloined from an army base, as a reward for jihad. Another Taliban fighter is given airtime to claim that they were invaded, conveniently ignoring the attack on America that preceded that operation. And Hilsum ends with a poetic eulogy at a Taliban graveyard. You might weep for lives lost in both dusty villages and gleaming towers. For the whole sorry mess of it. For 20 years of misunderstanding piled upon revenge. For those Afghans who fought America's doomed project and those who embraced it. And for the desolation that now passes for peace. Nice swipe from Tacitus there, Lindsay. Now, what makes that piece even more disturbing is that it's presented by a woman. You can be sure that she'll soon be scurrying back to the developed West, where she'll enjoy every freedom and luxury imaginable. And she'll leave the women of Afghanistan to the tender mercies of the Taliban she's just fawned over. And this highlights a terrifically common problem on the left. Many followers of that creed are simply incapable of offering even the mildest critique of fundamental Islam, despite the fact that it's probably the most racist, misogynistic, and homophobic cult on the planet. One that subjugated and bullied millions, and in the last 20 years has murdered 500,000 people, primarily moderate Muslims. Yet the left, that claims to care about Islam, women, and gay people, rarely voices any opposition. Critiques of radical Islam are as rare on the left as defences of the only Jewish state on planet Earth. You know, the one that's incredibly tolerant of women, gays, Muslims, and individual people of all stripes. And frankly, defences of the democratic West are just as rare. Channel 4 News, and frankly the majority of left-wing news outlets, advance the most deranged worldview. And their presentation of the facts is as warped and slanted as the media of North Korea or Hitler's Germany. Yet it still enjoys mainstream prestige and a vast audience. When humanity finally wakes up from this woke nightmare that we're currently sleepwalking through, the judgment of history will be harsh on these people indeed. Maybe almost as harsh as the rule of the Taliban. If you've enjoyed this film, please like and subscribe. And if you're interested in these topics, I've written 2 books which go into them in extensive detail. They're called The Tyranny of the Left and they're available on the links below. Please feel free to pick them up and let me know what you think. Thank you.